everyone. All right, so today we're going to be looking at zeros in the quotient. So we saw a little preview of this yesterday in our work, but today it's going to be explicit in every single one of the problems that we do, that we're either going to have zeros up in our quotient or we're going to have zeros somewhere in our work where we're going to actually bring down another number in order to have enough to divide with, okay? So I have the same two notes that I did yesterday. So we're just gonna want to remember that our decimal remains in the same position, and that we're gonna use our long division steps in order to find the quotient. So our first example that I'm gonna have today is 0.368 divided by 4. And just like yesterday, please write down your notes as we go through the lesson. That way you have them for today's Zoom call that you can ask those questions. If you want to pause the video at any time, you can. So that way you can work out the problems by yourself, or, you know, just in case you're a little distracted. That's okay, because I get distracted too. We're going to start with this first one. We're going to take it from the way that it's written horizontally and put it into a position which we can divide with. All right. So for this one, we're going to start right away noticing that that 4 can't go into 0. So I'm going to have the 0 here as my placeholder. And then, of course, my decimal spot is right there. And I'm going to go into our next number. But I'm looking at it, and 4 is larger than 3, which means that 4 cannot go into 3. I'm going to use that placeholder up here in my quotient to show that 4 cannot go into 3, okay? And if that can't go into there, then I'm looking at the next number over. So I'm looking at 36 now. I'm just going to put this here so you can see that we are now looking at 36, okay? So I have to think about what multiplication fact do I know already that 4 can go into 36. See if you can figure that out. So, did you get 9? I hope so. So 4 can go into 36 9 times. Oh, that's a funky 9. It's like my chicken 9. My chicken flour 9. Remember that? It's got the little chicken flour. Anyways, okay, chicken flour. I can just tell some of you are laughing and some of you are like, Mrs. Lord, just keep going. All right, so 9 times 4 is 36. So we have 0 there. And we're going to bring down our next, oh man, these silly arrows, 8. Okay? And now I'm going to start the process all over again. So how many times does 4 go into 8? 2 times. 4 times 2 is 8. And oh, that's a terrible 8 too. Man. Today is just not the day for writing 8s or numbers. There we go. And we have 0. Okay? So 0.368 divided by 4 is 0.092. And again, to check your work like we did yesterday, you could use multiplication to see if you did it correctly. So 8, 6, 3. So remember, when we multiply and we have a 0, this number, 4 times 0, is 0 plus the number that we regrouped, which is just 3. Okay, watch that one. And then 4 times 0 is 0. I have 1, 2, 3 decimal places over from the right. 1, 2, 3, 0.368. Okay? All right, so this was a good example of showing that we have our zeros in the quotient itself as a placeholder because there wasn't enough for us to actually divide with, okay? So our next one is going to be 3.20 divided by 5. Okay, this would be a really great problem for you to do right now by yourself. Try it out. So go ahead and pause the video so you can try. All right, so we can put 3.20 inside and we're going to divide by 5 and we're going to go through the same steps, okay? My decimal point's right here, so I'm just going to go ahead and put that up there on the quotient line. 5 cannot go into 3, so I'm just going to use a 0, showing that we're not going to use this first digit, but we're going to go over and look at 32, okay? So how many times can 5 go into 32? Well, 5 times 6 is 30, so we have 6. We're going to show that it's multiplied together makes 30. We're going to subtract. We have 2 left over. And now that I'm to my last digit in this problem, I'm still going to bring it down, even though it's a 0, okay? Now it makes 20. So now I'm thinking, how many times does 5 go into 20? Another multiplication fact, 4. So 4 times 5 is 20. And we have no remainder. Okay? So this was an example of how sometimes we have zeros, which we're going to use on the inside to make a number big enough for us to divide with. So because that 5 couldn't go into the 2 all by itself, when we bring down that 0, even though it is one of our steps, 5 can now go into 20 evenly. Okay? So these are similar problems that you're going to see today during your work. And you will be working on page 226. And you're going to be completing numbers 1 through 13. Okay? Numbers 1 through 13. Some of them are going to be written horizontally, and some of them already are written with our little house there, okay? So please make sure you have your questions ready for our 2 o'clock review time. And if not, just be on the lookout for those answers so you can check over your work. All right, I'll see you guys tomorrow.